Your indifference cost these men and women their most valuable commodity, time.
During a House subcommittee hearing, Jon Stewart torched members of Congress over the need to reauthorize the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund, which is expiring next year. Now, I was kind of surprised that this has not already been dealt with. I mean, I've seen these stories pop up here and there. I thought this was done. I thought this was funded. I thought we all understood that, of course, the first responders should have their health care taken care of. But no, Jon Stewart and those that were down there on 9/11 have to continually come to Washington and fight Congress to actually have their health care funded. So first, some quick backstory here on why that's the case. So Congress passed the James Zadroga 9/11 Health and Compensation Act in 2010 over opposition from some Republicans who balked at its $7 billion price tag. The act was reauthorized in 2015 for 90 years, but a portion of the law, the Victim Compensation Fund, was only funded for 5 years through the end of 2020. The fund aimed to provide necessary financial support for the thousands who suffered serious medical issues, including a spate of cancer diagnoses after the 2001 attacks. Now, I have several clips here to show you. The first clip will be Jon Stewart lambasting Congress for the many empty chairs in the hearing.
Behind me, a filled room of 9/11 first responders, and in front of me, a nearly empty Congress. Sick and dying, they brought themselves down here to speak to no one. It's shameful. It's an embarrassment to the country, and it is a stain on this institution. And you should be ashamed of yourselves for those that aren't here, but you won't be. Because accountability doesn't appear to be something that occurs in this chamber. We don't want to be here. Lou doesn't want to be here. None of these people want to be here. But they are, and they're not here for themselves. They're here to continue fighting for what's right. Lou's going to go back for his 69th chemo. The great Ray Pfeiffer would come down here, his body riddled with cancer and pain, where he couldn't walk. And the disrespect shown to him and to the other lobbyists on this bill is utterly unacceptable.
All right. So one of the takeaways that I get from Jon Stewart's statement here, and you're going to see the other clips coming up, is just how much this is needed, how much Jon Stewart is needed. So it's so rare to have these people who have this kind of this platform, this following, someone like, this celebrity stature like Jon Stewart, and use that platform to actually do good and to push Congress and showcase how incompetent they are. It's amazing how rare this is. Now, just some clarity on the empty chairs to be completely, objective here and fair. There is sort of an excuse for why at least some of the chairs are empty. So this from the Hill. This is a quote from Representative Steve Cohen, who's a Democrat from Tennessee. Quote, "My subcommittee, every single member on my side, which is 8 of us, have been here today," Cohen continued. "All these empty chairs, that's because it's for the full committee, not because it's disrespect or lack of attention to you." Cohen noted that some lawmakers could have conflicting committee hearings and meetings or be visiting with constituents or watching on TV. Saying he appreciated what Stewart has, quote, "done and what you do and what you said," Cohen added, "the Congress will respond." So that may explain why some of the chairs there are empty, but Jon Stewart continues here discussing the health issues and the government inaction that the responders have been facing.
The breathing problem started almost immediately, and they were told they weren't sick, they were crazy. And then, as the illnesses got worse and things became more apparent, well, okay, you're sick, but it's not from the pile. And then, when the science became irrefutable, okay, it's the pile. But this is a New York issue. I don't know if we have the money. And I'm sorry if I sound angry and undiplomatic, but I'm angry. And you should be too, and they're all angry as well. And they have every justification to be that way. There is not a person here, there is not an empty chair on that stage that didn't tweet out, "Never forget the heroes of 9/11. Never forget their bravery. Never forget what they did, what they gave to this country." Well, here they are. And where are they? And it would be one thing if their callous indifference and rank hypocrisy were benign, but it's not. Your indifference costs these men and women their most valuable commodity: time.
I think that last point that Stewart makes there is what something a lot of people lose sight of. How much time this has taken from these people's lives. Their need to have to fight and fight and fight just to get health care. These were the people that were down there, the first responders down there at Ground Zero on 9/11, helping people out of the rubble. And they've had to fight for almost 20 years just for health care? I mean, this is insane. And it goes beyond just the first responders. So for you to understand how many people were really affected health-wise by what happened on 9/11. I mean, here's a story from The Guardian from 2018. September 11th, nearly 10,000 people affected by cesspool of cancer. Thousands who lived or worked in Lower Manhattan on 9/11 were exposed to toxic fumes from destroyed towers. There were 9,375 members of the World Trade Center Health Program certified as having a related cancer as of the end of June, according to the program. An additional 420 members who had cancer have died. In all, more than 43,000 people have been certified with a 9/11 related health condition. The toll on first responders has been well documented. 182 members of the New York Fire Department alone have died due to such illnesses. But the carnage goes much further, affecting many who were Lower Manhattan residents, office workers, teachers, and students at local schools. So, all of this need for health care. And what do you get from members of Congress? Hashtag never forget. Thoughts and prayers. I mean, just empty BS. Their job is to help people. I mean, are we losing sight of that? The job of Congress, the job of politicians is to actually help people. They are public servants. That is their job. Yet what do? They listen directly to special interests. What they prioritize is tax cuts for the rich. That's their priority. Anything to help their big donors, whether it's large corporations or big wealthy billionaires, whatever they need, that's what's prioritized. When it comes to actually helping people, which is what they should be prioritizing, it gets ignored. Let's go to the last clip here where Jon Stewart just continues.
We can't fund these programs, you can. Setting aside that no American in this country should face financial ruin because of a health issue. Certainly 9/11 first responders shouldn't have to decide whether to live or to have a place to live. And the idea that you can only give them 5 more years of the VCF because you're not quite sure what's going to happen 5 years from now, well, I can tell you, I'm pretty sure what's going to happen 5 years from now. More of these men and women are going to get sick and they are going to die. These men and women and their response to it is what brought our country back. It's what gave a reeling nation a solid foundation to stand back upon, to remind us of why this country is great, of why this country is worth fighting for. And you are ignoring them. Why this bill isn't unanimous consent and a standalone issue is beyond my comprehension. And I have yet to hear a reasonable explanation for why. It'll get stuck in some transportation bill or some appropriations bill and get sent over to the Senate, where a certain someone from the Senate will use it as a political football to get themselves maybe another new import tax on petroleum, because that's what happened to us in 2015. They responded in 5 seconds. They did their jobs with courage, grace, tenacity, humility. 18 years later, do yours. Thank you.
All right. So just a few points here. The first comment from Jon Stewart there, I mean, is exactly right. No American should face financial ruin due to a health issue. I mean, how often do I talk about Medicare for all and the need to have single-payer health care, the need for health care to be guaranteed to everyone, and high-quality health care to be guaranteed to everyone? Look, I've said again and again, as a Canadian, I have experience with single-payer health care. It's fantastic. The way I know it's fantastic is that I never have to think about health care. If I need it, it's there. When I've needed it, it's been there. I had surgery once. I had to fill out, I think, 2 sheets of paper. I had to wait 3 months because it was a minor surgery. It wasn't anything that required immediate attention. Got it, went home. That's it. I mean, it's that easy. So I don't want to get into a whole discussion about the benefits of single-payer healthcare, but if that existed, you really would not have to think about this at all. These first responders would be covered. Everybody would be covered. They would be getting the health care that they need, not just for what happened on 9/11, but for other people that may experience health issues due to whatever's going on. So it's just, Medicare for all is the obvious solution to all of this. But apart from that, as Stewart says here, what often happens is issues like this will be used as a political football so that lawmakers can use something like this to try and pass something else that they want and say, oh, you got to do it for the first responders. Meanwhile, they're actually trying to serve their donors with a bill that actually serves other interests. So it's disgusting what Congress does. And there would not be the attention on this issue that it deserves without Jon Stewart.